Oh, hey. Yeah, I'm just roaming around here today. Like I'm struggling. Not really struggling, but just trying to find this and that. Well, you know how it is when you're, I don't know. What can you say, Hairman? What do you say? I got my notebook here. Took some notes. I was listening to Gary Brecka. He's talking about how the body burns energy. What did I do with my plectrum? Oh, yeah. How the body burns energy. That's what he was talking about. First, you burn sugar or glucose before you burn fat. And when the sugar in your body is high, you secrete insulin. And most people think that insulin is to lower the blood sugar. He says that's false. It's to stop all the other functions of the body. High insulin, you can't burn fat. First you burn the sugar, then you burn glycogen. That comes from your liver and your muscles. The fat comes from your liver too. Trouble with that is you can only burn it for 20 minutes. Then the energy comes from, like I was saying, the lean muscle, then the fat. And this is why it's so confusing. I mean, if you fasted and you're thinking you go to the gym and you want to lose some fat or weight, what you're really doing, if you haven't eaten, let's just say you had some black coffee, you're just eating your lean muscle or eating yourself. And then when you have a meal, your lean muscle rebuilds. Now, Gary says that the only way, whether or not this is true, I can't say because I'm not a scientist, but he's a human biologist. And he refers to a guy named Tim Ferriss's book, and he says that if you go and have first thing in the morning 30 grams of protein, and then you have 30 minutes of steady state cardiovascular exercise. I think that's somewhere like close to the range, let's just say approximately 122. What do they call that? Your pulse rate, 122, not above 130, but probably not below too much, that you burn some fat. Well, anyway, enough of that. Now I'm going to tell you a story about something here. What am I going to tell you a story about? Oh, yeah, something near and dear. Soon after a general retired, he decided he must do something different. So he booked himself on a Caribbean cruise and proceeded to have the time of his life, and that was until the ship sank. He found himself on an island, no beer, no movies, no entertainment, no clubbing, no dancing, no canteen, no supplies, no food. Nothing, only bananas and coconuts. Oh boy, that can get boring after a while. After 4 months, he's lying on the beach, and the most gorgeous woman he's ever seen rose up to the shore. In disbelief, he asked, "Where did you come from?" And she replies, "Why, I rowed over from the other side of the island, where I landed when my cruise ship sank." Amazed, he notes, "Why, you were really lucky to have a rowboat wash up with you." "Oh, this thing," explains the lady, "I made it out of some raw material I found on the island. The oars were whittled from a gum tree, and I wove the bottom from pine tree branches and the side and stern from a eucalyptus tree." "But where'd you get the tools?" "Oh, that was no problem," replied the lady. "On the south side of the island is a very unusual stratum of Annabelle rock that is exposed, and I found if I fired it to a certain temperature in my kiln, it melted to, well, anyway, you can get some iron out of it, and I use it to make tools, and use the tools to make hardware." And the general is stunned. "Well, let's row over to my place," she says. "I'll give you a tour." So after a short time rowing, she docks the boat on a small wharf. The old wharf looks to shore, or the old warhorse looks to shore, and he nearly falls out of the boat. And before long, he's on that stone walk leading up to a cabin and a treehouse. And while the lady ties up the rowboat with an exquisitely get the words out of your mouth, Herman, expertly woven hemp rope, the general can only stare ahead and dumbstruck. Ooh. And as they walk to the house, she says casually, "It's not much, but I call it home. Please sit down. Will you have a drink?" "No, no, no. I can't take any more of that coconut juice." "Oh, well, no, it's not coconut juice." And the lady winks at him. "I have a still. Would you like some whiskey and water?" In amazement, he accepts. He sits down on the couch to talk. They exchange individual survival stories, and the lady announces, "I'm going to slip into something more comfortable. Would you like to take a shower and shave? There's a razor in the bathroom cabinet upstairs." No longer questioning anything, the general goes upstairs to the bathroom, and in the cabinet is a razor made from a piece of tortoise shell. 2 shells honed to a hollow ground edge are fastened to an end inside a swivel mechanism. "This lady's amazing," he muses. "What's next?" He returns. She greets him wearing nothing but some gardenia flowers and tiny vines strategically placed to cover herself. She beckons him to sit down next to her. "Tell me," she begins, suggestively slithering closer to him. "We've both been on this island for months, and you must be very lonely. When was the last time you played around?" He stares deeply into her eyes, and he says, "I can't believe what I'm hearing." "You mean," he swallows excitingly as tears start to form in his eyes, "you built a golf course?" Oh, yeah. You know, there's a whole lot of people out there that ain't got a home. I got a shack up on the mountain that I've always had. It's a couple 100+ years old, probably approaching 250. And I kind of made it into a home. And when I roam, I got a brindle on my back or a backpack, so I figure I got homes all over the world. I'm just a wandering worker, because back in those times you couldn't find no work here. It's different now, and wherever I went, the police made it harder for me. They wouldn't let me lay down wherever I wanted to roll out my bed. And well, back then I felt like I hadn't got no home. I ain't got no home. My brothers and sisters are stranded on a road, a hot and dusty road, 1,000,000 miles from nowhere. And now the rich man, well, he tried to take my home for back taxes, but somehow I mustered a guy came down the road, and amazingly, just out of heaven, and he said, "You got anything you want to sell?" And I had a whole bunch of stuff that I had found and garbage picked on 5th Avenue back in the day, and put in my pickup truck and hauled up to the mountain. And I sold them all that stuff there, and it was just enough to pay my taxes. Yeah, just enough to pay my taxes. So if you're feeling like you ain't got a home, I just always remember, I got a tent. So I got a home on all the beaches of the world, because it's never illegal in most countries to camp on the beach, as long as you're not above the high water mark. But then, of course, you might float away. Nifty 91.50 WRPI Troy. Let's get on with the shoe, dude.